My name is Elena. I'm 34 years old and live in a calm little town just outside Portland, Oregon. I work as an accounts coordinator at a company that supplies hospital instruments, and I handle most of the chores in our cozy two-bedroom house. No children, no noise, just me and my husband, Ryan. Ryan is the same age as me, working as a sales supervisor for a large real estate company. He's always neatly dressed, speaks with quiet confidence, and smells faintly of his favorite cologne every morning before he leaves. From the outside, people often say I'm lucky, but they don't know how cold silence can feel between two people who once promised forever. Today was supposed to be special, April 17th, our 8th wedding anniversary, and also Ryan's 34th birthday. I took a half day off from work, drove about 25 miles to get his favorite Cabernet Sauvignon, and stopped at a small butcher shop to buy premium Wagyu ribs. I'm not an expert cook, but I wanted this dinner to be perfect. I hung string lights on the porch, spread out a cream tablecloth, and set the cutlery just right. The cake I ordered sat waiting in the fridge, smooth vanilla, frosting with a simple note on top. To Ryan, happy birthday and anniversary. By 8:00 p.m., I fixed my dress, added a touch of perfume, and sat down to wait. I told myself Ryan would be home soon. At 9:00, I lit the candles. At 10:00, I sent him a text, "I'm waiting." No reply. By 10:30, I called. It rang 5 times before going to voicemail. At exactly 10:35 p.m., a short email appeared on my screen. "Sorry, big client issue came up. I need to stay late at the office. We'll make it up another day. No thank you. No happy anniversary." I placed my phone down on the table. The candles had long melted away, and the cake still sat untouched in the fridge. I just stood there under the warm yellow light of the dining room, holding the neatly folded napkin I'd set for him. I didn't cry, but something deep inside me cracked quietly. That night, I packed everything away, sealed the ribs, took down the lights, wiped the table clean. The dinner no one came home to. The celebration that never happened. Around midnight, I lay down in the same wrinkled dress I'd chosen for the evening, staring at the ceiling while the words from that email kept slicing through my mind. It wasn't the first time Ryan came home late. It wasn't the first time I waited until my body ached. But this time, something was different, a quiet chill creeping through me, like a whisper I couldn't ignore. The next morning, I woke early and went to work as usual. But the entire day passed without a single message or call. I dialed his numbers, still just endless ringing. It felt like I'd been erased from his world overnight. By noon, anxiety had settled deep in my chest. I finally called Ryan's office. The receptionist hesitated, then said softly, "Oh, he resigned 3 days ago. He didn't leave any forwarding details." I froze in the middle of the hallway, surrounded by the noise of other people's routines. The air suddenly felt heavy, pressing against my ribs. My mind started racing backward through every small memory, every late night, every vague excuse. It hit me all at once. This wasn't about work. It never was. Ryan had chosen to disappear, and I, his wife of 8 years, was the last to find out. After work, I drove home as fast as I could. Every turn of the wheel felt like pushing against a storm. When I unlocked the door to our 3rd-floor apartment, the air inside felt heavy, suffocating. My eyes went straight to the shoe rack. The 2nd row was empty. Ryan's brown leather shoes were gone. I called out, "Ryan," but there was only silence. I hurried to the bedroom, and my heart sank like a stone. Ryan was standing in the middle of the room beside an open suitcase. Clothes were thrown carelessly into a duffel bag, a navy blue suit, a tie, and a pair of brand new dress shoes still with the tags on. Things he never wore to any normal office meeting. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice trembling. He looked up at me as if I were a stranger. "You're back," he said flatly, then went right back to packing. I stepped closer. "Where are you going?" "Out of state." He replied casually, "I've accepted a new position in Santa Fe." I froze. "You quit your job and didn't even tell me." He didn't respond. Instead, he reached into his duffel bag and pulled out a thin folder, placing it on the nightstand. When he opened it, my stomach dropped. The first page was divorce papers. I stood there motionless. "Ryan, what is this?" He looked at me with eyes as cold as glass. "You're not the wife I need anymore." My throat tightened. "What are you talking about?" He sighed, his tone sharp. "You've changed. You care more about work than about us. The house is always a mess. You only cook when you feel like it. You've stopped caring." I clutched the papers, shaking. "I tried, Ryan. I tried so hard. You come home late and say you've already eaten. I cook and you ignore it. I clean, but you tell me not to touch your desk, and now you're blaming me for not being a good wife." Ryan's face hardened. "Don't bring up petty things," he snapped. "You always have excuses. A real wife doesn't need reminders." I let out a bitter laugh. "You talk like I sit around doing nothing. I work too, Ryan. I pay half the rent, but no one cooks for me. No one asks how I'm doing. I never complained, not once." He narrowed his eyes, his voice low and sharp. "That's your choice, Elena, and I've made mine." He zipped up the suitcase and slung the duffel bag over his shoulder. "I've rented an apartment near my new job. I start next week. Don't get in my way." I moved to block the door. "That's it. No apology, no explanation. After 8 years." He paused for a moment, not out of guilt, but irritation. "I don't owe you anything," he said coldly, brushing past me without even a glance back. The door closed behind him with a quiet click, final and heavy, like a judge's gavel. I stood there for a moment, then sank to the floor, clutching the divorce papers in trembling hands. My chest burned, but no tears came, just silence. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was a call from the building management office. "Mrs. Elena," the woman on the line said politely, "we've just received a request to transfer your lease. The current leaseholder wants to terminate the contract." My breath caught. "What did he say?" I asked. There was a pause. Then she replied, "He only left a note." Here's part 5, Mujib, rewritten with your consistent story setup. Elena, Ryan, 34, Portland, Oregon, April timeline. Tone remains emotional but mature, the kind of calm pain that deepens the narrative before the next reveal. I no longer live there. The person staying behind will clear out and move before the end of the month. That was all his note said. No message, no explanation. That night, I went through the drawer of our old desk and found the receipts for everything in the apartment, the sofa, the dining set, even the refrigerator. Every single one was under my name. The only things Ryan took were his clothes and a few small gadgets. He left like a stranger, and somehow it was that coldness that finally shook me awake. I looked around our apartment. Everything was still here. The photos, the furniture, the familiar smell of our life together. Everything except the marriage. I didn't sign the divorce papers immediately. They stayed on the table for 3 days, like a wound waiting to open. Every time I walked by, I'd stop and stare, hoping I'd see a reason hidden between those neatly typed lines. But the longer I looked, the clearer it became. There was no reason, just Ryan's silence, that final, merciless silence when he walked out without looking back. On Saturday night, a notification popped up on my phone, a message from an old friend group. It was about our 18-year high school reunion taking place at a craft brewery in downtown Portland. I had registered for it a month ago, back when everything felt stable. I imagined walking in with Ryan, holding hands, the picture of a couple who had it all together while others were still searching or already separated. But now I'd be walking in alone. Now it was just me, and a hollow ache that ran deeper than words. I almost didn't go. But when I looked in the mirror and saw a tired face still carrying a trace of dignity, I decided to show up. I slipped into a simple black dress, added a touch of wine, colored lipstick, and tied my hair back. Not to impress anyone, but to remind myself that I still existed, that I was still strong enough to walk into a crowded room and hold my head high. Moonlight Brewery was exactly as I remembered, loud, warm, and alive. Laughter and clinking glasses echoed through the place, wrapping around me like a forgotten song from the past. As I stepped inside, feeling both invisible and exposed, I heard someone call my name. "Hey, Elena." I turned. It was Nathan, the guy who used to play bass in our high school band. He looked older, steadier, with a bit of stubble and kind eyes. "I almost didn't recognize you," he said with a smile, handing me a glass of craft beer. "Still the last one to show up, huh?" We found a quiet table in the corner, away from the noise. Nathan told me about his life, divorced 3 years, raising a 6-year-old daughter on his own. No bitterness, no drama. Just honesty between two people halfway through life's messiness. When he asked about Ryan, I kept it short. "We're getting divorced. No pity, no long story, just truth." Nathan nodded, then gently changed the subject, and for that I was silently grateful. That night, driving back through Portland's cool spring air, I turned on the radio. An old song started playing, "It's Not Right, But It's Okay." The lyrics hit me hard, each word cutting through the fog I'd lived in for years. I remembered the untouched dinners, the unread messages, the hugs that grew colder until they stopped altogether. For years, I'd told myself, "Ryan's just busy. I should understand. I just need to try harder." But the truth was clear now. I had lived like a shadow, always finding excuses for someone who had already let go. The next Sunday morning, while making coffee, my phone rang. Ryan. For a few seconds, I just stared at the screen before answering. "I've told the leasing office we're ending the contract by the end of the month," he said, his voice flat and distant. "You should start packing." I stayed calm. "You don't think you should have asked if I had somewhere to go? You're an adult," he replied coldly. "Figure it out." I set my mug down slowly. "Good," I said, "I'll sign." He was silent. "And don't call again, Ryan," I added firmly. "Don't talk to me like I'm still the one keeping your life together." Still no response. So I hung up, no hesitation, no shaking hands this time. I sat at the table and looked at the divorce papers one last time. Then, as if finally closing a door that had been left open too long, I picked up the pen and signed my name. Not a single tremor in my hand, not a single tear. Just clarity, sharp and cold after years blurred by empty promises. Exactly 1 week after my lawyer filed the divorce papers, an email from Ryan appeared in my inbox around 10 p.m. The subject line read only one word, proof. I opened it. Before I could even read the message, a photo appeared, a marriage certificate. Groom, Ryan Michael Carter. Bride, Marissa Evelyn Whitmore, stamped boldly in red. Bernalillo County, New Mexico. Date of registration, 1 day after our divorce was finalized. Before I could process it, my phone rang. His name flashed across the screen. I answered. His voice came through, smug and triumphant. "You saw it, right? I got remarried. Life's never been better." I said nothing. I just listened. "Her name's Marissa," he went on. "She's 34, same as you, but she's calm, gentle, and beautiful enough to make you jealous." I stayed silent, gripping the edge of the counter. "She's the only daughter of the family that owns the Whitmore Real Estate Group in Santa Fe. Her parents bought us a small house near the Southern Hills, and her family helped me become executive vice president at their company. So that's why you needed the divorce so quickly," I said quietly, trying to steady my voice. "Not entirely," he replied. I just couldn't live with someone who only cared about work and neglected her role as a wife. I let out a low, humorless laugh. "And your new wife, she doesn't work," he said proudly. "She takes care of our home, and we're expecting a baby girl. She's 3 months pregnant." Each word felt like a dull blade cutting through the last fragile thread that had connected us. But there was no pain this time, only stillness. After the call ended, I sat in silence, his new wife's name echoing in my head, Marissa Whitmore. Something about it felt familiar. I opened Facebook, typed in her name, and her profile appeared instantly. A flawless woman with soft blonde curls, icy blue eyes, and a perfect smile that could make anyone feel small. I scrolled through her photos until I froze on the 10th one. Marissa, I knew her. Back then, she was Marissa Ellis, not Whitmore. We'd gone to high school together for 3 years. She used to sit in the back row, skinny, quiet, acne scarred from makeup allergies. Her eyes were small, her nose uneven, and she always tried to hide her teeth when she smiled. I remembered her. Those same eyes, that slightly crooked tooth everyone teased her about, bunny teeth. It was her. The same girl who once couldn't look anyone in the eye, now staring out from wedding photos like she owned the world. I called Lana, my best friend from high school. "Do you remember Marissa Ellis?" I asked. There was a pause, then a small laugh. "Of course I do. Why?" I told her everything about Ryan, the new marriage, the house, the shiny new title. Lana wasn't surprised. She changed completely after moving to New York for art school. She said, "Had several surgeries, nose, chin, eyes, jawline, total transformation. But trust me, her personality, same as ever, quiet, calculating, always strategic about who she attaches herself to." I stayed silent. There was even a rumor, Lana added, that she was involved with a much older, married architect in Brooklyn before she moved back to New Mexico to open her art gallery. I didn't ask for more. I didn't need to. That night, I sat in the living room, staring at Ryan and Marissa's wedding photo on my phone. Everything in the frame glowed: the flowers, her white gown, his proud smile. But I knew what I was looking at: layers of foundation, a carefully crafted illusion, and a plan executed to perfection. And that's who he chose. 1 week later, just when I thought the story was over, a message came from an unknown number. "Elena, are you free? I need to talk. It's serious." I didn't reply. 15 minutes later, my phone rang again. It was him, and for reasons I couldn't explain, I answered. Not because I cared anymore, but because something deep inside told me whatever he was about to say would finally be worth hearing. "Marissa gave birth," Ryan said as soon as I answered, "a baby girl." I heard him swallow hard, then silence. I waited. "She doesn't look like me," he said slowly, "or like Marissa. Actually, she doesn't look like either of us." I tightened my grip on the phone, pressing my lips together to keep from laughing. "Maybe she takes after someone on your side of the family," I said lightly. "No," he muttered. "I thought that too. But Elena, do you remember when you laughed after I told you about Marissa? You knew something, didn't you?" His voice rose, nervous, shaky. I leaned back in my chair, a small smirk on my lips. "I just found it interesting," I replied, careful to keep my tone calm. "Stop joking," he snapped. "I did a DNA test. The baby's mine, but I still don't get it. Why doesn't she look like either of us? I haven't told anyone else, just you. You laughed like you knew something. Please, tell me." I gave a soft chuckle. "Do you remember your high school graduation album?" Silence. "I found it when I was packing up the old apartment," I continued. "It was at the bottom of your desk drawer, covered in dust. You were digging through my stuff." His voice turned sharp. "No," I said calmly. "I was cleaning just like you asked." I paused for a moment before adding, "When I opened that album, I saw a boy with curly hair, squinty eyes, crooked teeth, and acne scars. It took me a minute to realize it was you. Ryan exhaled slowly. I always wondered. I went on, why in 8 years of marriage you never introduced me to your college friends, why our wedding was small with no one from your past, why there wasn't a single teenage photo of you in our home. Now I know. He spoke quietly. I changed out of insecurity. No, I replied softly. You changed because you wanted a new life, but you forgot one simple truth. I paused. Genetics can't be edited. Silence stretched between us. You think I'm ashamed of who I was? He asked. No, I said. I think you're terrified that your daughter might grow up carrying the parts of you both that you tried so hard to erase. He didn't speak. I could hear him breathing unevenly. She'll inherit what's real, Ryan. Your blood, your DNA, the things no surgery can rewrite. He took a deep breath. What about Marissa? I interrupted softly. What about her? She cried. He said after a long pause. She says she's exhausted, but every time she looks at the baby, she turns away. Her mother had to hold the child because she refused. His voice broke slightly. I don't know what to do. I stayed quiet. A heaviness settled in my chest, not for him, but for that child, born into a world where her own parents couldn't bear to face themselves. You once said I failed as a wife because I didn't sacrifice enough. I said finally, but the one failing his role as a father is you. He started to respond, but I cut him off. You don't need advice from me, Ryan. Just don't project your shame onto that baby. She did nothing wrong. Then I ended the call and blocked his number. There was nothing left to say. Nearly a year later, I barely remembered his voice. Not because I tried to forget, but because the life I built after him filled every space he used to occupy. I moved into a small apartment in Boulder, a short walk from my office. The balcony overlooked soft green hills, bright with morning light, perfect for growing a few pots of basil and mint. I kept my job but reduced my hours. I learned balance, choosing peace over burnout, simplicity over struggle. I joined a weekend art class and slowly reconnected with old friends. One of them was Nathan, the quiet, kind man from the reunion. We never made promises or labeled what we had. Just quiet afternoons, laughter over coffee, and the comfort of companionship without expectation. I didn't check on Ryan anymore, but life has a strange way of updating you about people who once shaped your pain. One crisp autumn afternoon, I ran into Lana at a used bookstore. After a warm hug and small talk, she leaned in and whispered, "You haven't heard about Ryan, have you?" I shook my head. "Marissa is looking for a divorce attorney," she said softly. I raised an eyebrow, unsurprised. Word is, Ryan cheated again with a new hire at her company. She continued. Marissa found out 3 months ago, but stayed silent for the child's sake. Their daughter? I asked. Lana nodded. Almost 3 now. She hesitated before adding, "It gets worse." She pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot from a preschool parents group. "There's a new girl in her class," Lana said. "Her mom had full plastic surgery. The kids found out somehow, and they've been teasing her." I read the cruel comment at the bottom of the post. "Your mom used to be ugly." For a moment, I just stared at it, then quietly closed the phone. I felt no satisfaction, no revenge, only a deep, quiet pity. Because some lessons in life don't need payback. They just echo back through the generations that follow. The poor thing cried all week. I stared at Lana's message, a strange heaviness sinking into my chest. I didn't care about Ryan or Marissa anymore, but the thought of a child being mocked for choices that were never hers, that broke something in me. Sadness and anger both. Marissa regrets having the baby. Lana added, she thought the child would inherit her post-surgery looks, but it's obvious now, the girl carries the original genes. I didn't say anything. There was nothing left to say. Ryan and Marissa had once built a life wrapped in glitter, a version of perfection made of status, beauty, and control. But in the end, what couldn't be hidden found its way back. The truth, the past, and the weight of how they treated people. That's what showed up not in them, but in their child. I slipped my phone into my pocket and kept walking. The air was soft, the sun low and gold over the park. I stopped by a bakery, picked up a warm kvass, and strolled home through the path where sunlight broke through the trees like quiet forgiveness. My life now has no drama, no chaos, no stage to perform on, but it has rhythm, it has peace, and it's mine. Sometimes I still think back to the 8 years of marriage, the sudden divorce, the betrayal, and the faces behind those polished masks. But there's no bitterness anymore, only gratitude, because that collapse, that painful ending, gave me the chance to be reborn. Not into someone new, but into myself. No more compromises, no more pretending, no more living small. If anyone ever asked me whether I've forgiven Ryan, I'd probably smile and say, I don't need to forgive anyone. I just needed to find myself again. And for the first time in years, I can say that without hesitation. Elena's story is a reminder that appearances may fool the world, but time always tells the truth. When she was betrayed and discarded for not fitting someone's illusion of perfection, she didn't seek revenge. She didn't beg. She simply walked away and rebuilt herself quietly from the inside out. In the end, those who lived a lie had to face the mirror they created, while Elena found freedom, peace, and authenticity, the kind of beauty no surgery could ever recreate. What do you think of Elena's choices and the downfall of those who built their lives on lies? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more true, powerful, and eye-opening stories about love, truth, and the strength it takes to start again.